And so not only do you help women and female entrepreneurs start, monetize, launch their podcast, but you're doing something now about podcast playlist on YouTube, the funnel. And I'm like, I don't even know what this is. So I want to pick your brain so much today so our guests get that value. Welcome to the Life by Design podcast. I'm your host, Kim Ward, a certified master life and business coach, NLP practitioner, and your guide to building a life and business that you absolutely love. I'm really truthfully excited for this conversation. Tracey Lee Cook, you've been my friend for many, many years. And I procrastinated for 4 years when I wanted to start a podcast because I had all these big, scary misconceptions. And when you told me what you were up to, you made my life better, simpler, easier, and you are the manager and coach to my podcast. So, welcome.
This is so exciting because Life by Design, and I've seen it evolve into this powerhouse business and helping so many people in business next level, upscale, and step into their true version of themselves. So to see you start the Life by Design podcast, it was inevitable that was going to happen, and I wasn't going to let you slip under the door. We were going to do it, right?
Yes. Well,
And
without you, I would have just kept making excuses. But the truth is, you are the best in the industry and you really, really know your stuff. So you did make it very easy. And like I said, normally Rich is with me, but he's entertaining our retreat guests this week. So you're stuck with me.
I think it's fabulous. And I love it when people come together and do a podcast with husband and wife, because it's sometimes those challenging conversations, those changes in perception, it's a different type of conversation. So having those solo episodes with you talking to your wonderful guests, and I'm so honored to be one of those guests on your
First.
podcast, Kim, and then seeing you and your husband interact about life and business and the grit and the glory and the downfalls. I
Yes.
think it just adds that real element. And that's the power of podcasting, right? There
Love it.
are no real rules. We can step in and start a podcast at any point, but the magic happens because a lot of podcasters, and I've been podcasting since 2020. I started a video podcast in 2020,
Wow.
and I had some very challenging conversations, Kim, of like, podcast is audio only. How dare you start a video podcast on YouTube? That's crazy. What are you doing to the podcast industry? And here we are. Everyone's got a video podcast on YouTube. Told you so.
Imagine. Imagine. And that's why I say you really are the best. And one thing that I love about you is you are genuinely always on the cutting edge. And so not only do you help women and female entrepreneurs start, monetize, launch their podcast, but you're doing something now about podcast playlist on YouTube, the funnel. And I'm like, I don't even know what this is. So I want to pick your brain so much today so our guests get that value. But before I do, if there's a woman that's very much like myself and she has so much to give to the world and she knows that there's a podcast in her, but there's fear and there's apprehension, what would you say to her?
There are a certain percentage of people, Kim, that can build it in the air, that jump off the cliff, just trusting the process and build it as they go. What
Yes.
I have found, especially with neurodivergence and things like that, a lot of people can't operate like that. They haven't done the personal development and the mindset work to be able to jump off that cliff and build the aeroplane in the air. And this applies to business and podcasting, and they both go together. And I'm going to share with you in this episode how that actually happens. And then there's the other percentage. And to answer your question, it is setting some systems and processes in place so that you feel more calm, at ease, and you feel more in control. So when it comes time for you to produce your content and to actually have that call to action and that system to back it up, you feel more prepared. And what that will actually do, and what I've seen this do time and time again, is that will set you up on a consistency path,
Mm.
because more than 15% of podcasters who start a podcast, consistency is one of the things that lets them down. And it
Wow.
lets them down because they're overwhelmed, they're confused, they can't build it in the air because they don't have the mindset skills to do that. And once you actually do overcome that and have some systems and processes in place, consistency, when you batch record, and I'm going to share with you all the process, just becomes easier, simpler, and reduces that stress. It grows your business and helps you build your brand and influence as well.
Oh, good. I don't even want to talk. I just want to sit here and listen to you. So good. Who doesn't want to
Now,
start a podcast after that? Come on.
I think there's a lot of podcasters, and I'm very outspoken about this. And
Yes.
again, a challenging conversation. I love being a visionary and on the cutting edge, as you mentioned. But I really do feel that a lot of podcasters aren't actually leveraging it to build their business. And I do find that a lot of podcasters are more entertainers and more ego driven because they like to hear their own voice.
Mm.
So that is true. That is true. We've all listened to podcasts like that. But you can actually leverage the power of podcasting to build your business. And there's a lot of podcasters that aren't business owners and marketers. And the three actually go together. There are not a lot of podcast courses, mentors, and gurus that are sharing simple systems to attract high intent clients to their business offers. No paid ads, no sponsorships.
Wow.
Because what I've seen is there's a lot of podcasters that get in it and they're in it for the downloads. Oh, I've got to get all these downloads. Or if they've got a video podcast on YouTube, I've got to build my subscribers. That's not paying the bills.
Right.
The lots and lots of downloads and the lots of subscribers, and this is going to be very controversial. You'll probably get a few comments about this,
Bring
but
it.
it's not paying the bills. It's not generating leads and sales to your mid or high ticket business offers to work with you and be able to build out your lists and your communities and offer transformations to your high intent action taking clients.
Mm. Man,
Mm-hmm.
does that
Yeah.
sting? Or is
Oh,
that,
yeah.
whew,
Yeah.
wow. So I kind of want to know from your point of view, because you've seen it all, you've done it all, you've been in the industry for a while, you've emceed podcasting events, you've worked with the best of the best, you've shared the stages with people like Les Brown. I mean, you are a big deal in the podcasting world. What would you say is the biggest mistake that a podcaster makes?
They don't have systems in place, or they go in it blind without a strategy.
Okay. And that's where you and your team come in, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Absolutely.
okay.
It's great that we start. It's great that we start, but let's just add one more element to it and start with a bit of a strategy. We
Yeah.
don't need to go full in. We don't need to see the whole staircase, but we do need to see and prepare for the first few steps. So most people will start a podcast. They've listened to other podcasts. And let's use an example. They're starting an interview, right? Interview podcasts are the most popular that most new beginner podcasters make. And then they read a big long bio after their, 3-minute music intro. They don't have a call to action. They don't have an offer. And then or their call to action is like, subscribe, comment, and share.
Mm.
We all know that if we like something, that we like and comment and share. We all know that. Let's next level that and have a podcast as part of your marketing mix for your business to drive leads and sales for high intent clients, with a podcast playlist funnel where they go through the funnel. It builds the know, like, and trust factor. It warms up your audience more authentically. And
Right.
then by the end of the funnel, they want to work with you. They've sold themselves into your offers.
Oh,
So you
good.
don't need sponsors. Okay. I don't want a unaligned sponsor in my podcast if I'm using it for a business. I don't
Right.
want that. I want to sell my own business offers, but I don't want to sound salesy and spammy and kind of go click the link and book on a coaching call, because people don't do that. They want to see what you're like. They want to see your value. They want to see how you talk. They want to see your values and your beliefs. And if you have a 3 to 5 short video content for your podcast, and you have it as part of a client journey, a customer journey, where you're solving a problem, you're sharing your beliefs, and you can deliver that in as part of a sales system. Okay. So
So good.
you can have, say, for example, podcast number 1. You can talk about a broader topic that's really highly searched, because we have to start with knowing who our ideal client is. We have to
Right.
know. We have to niche down. What are their pain points? What brings them joy? What kind of transformations do they need? Where do they hang out? How are they socially talking? Don't use your industry jargon. Talk like they talk, right? So your first video podcast in your YouTube playlist funnel should talk to your ideal audience on a common question that they are asking. Now, here's a pro tip, Kim, that I'm going to share with your audience. You can go to a site called Answer the Public,
Mhm.
and you get a free search. You can type in there the question or the niche or anything that you want the answer to, and build a playlist funnel to that. So if you
Mhm.
go to Answer the Public and you type in how to podcast, it will populate, and you can download it as a CSV file. You can populate all the questions that people have typed into Google,
What?
right? How can I? Where can I? How do I find? And you can take that one question, right? And you can create a podcast playlist funnel from that, because you already know that your ideal audience is searching for that. So, when you see comments on social media, oh, you read my mind. I
Yes.
need to hear that today. That's why, because we're getting into the psychology of the person to be able to produce that transformation and answer their question. They want their questions answered. It can be a
Yes.
pain point, it can bring them joy or fill a desire. So, Answer the Public is key. Go there, do your research, and this is where it starts the process. We know our ideal client. We've gone to Answer the Public. We've done a little bit of research. We don't need to go down the rabbit hole. Let's keep it simple, Kim. Let's keep it simple.
Like simple. I like simple. I gotta tell you, you're already in my head answering the questions that I had that I haven't even asked you yet. Because I'm thinking, if the podcaster is looking at the podcast as a goal, and you said the number one issue or challenge is not having a strategy, my thought would be, well, how do they know what the strategy would be? And right there, you just gave us a $10,000 coaching value is answer the public. Stop assuming you know what your market is looking for and asking for. Answer the public, find the question, answer the question, boom, you've got yourself a simple system. You see why I love this woman? She is so good. Oh my gosh. So so is that
And
the YouTube podcasting playlist funnel? Is that what everything you just described? Does that sum it up?
yeah, there's a few extra steps that I would love to share, because the tail end of that, after we know our audience, we've researched the topic, then we're going to create 3 or 5, ideally 5 short video podcasts. And you can
Mm,
take that video podcast and take the audio and put it up to your podcast host, something like Buzzsprout or Spotify for creators, anywhere you want to host your podcast. You can take that, you can film yourself doing the video, but take the audio and pop it up onto your podcast host. Now, that is a secondary method for me, even though podcasting is mainly audio, but people don't go to Apple or Spotify really and search in where can I find, or topics. Generally, they go to Google and they go to YouTube. Google,
Yeah.
number one search engine, YouTube, number two search engine. We can
Right.
really leverage SEO and keywords in here for our ideal audience. And
Right.
you've probably found yourself, Kim, and your audience would as well, that when you type in, how do I start a podcast? You will see shorts, right, come up in the top ranks of Google if the strategy is done properly. And there's a few steps to that, which I share in my program. But you can actually see podcasts come up now in the top ranks of Google when you search for something. Now, you might not be searching for a podcast about that topic, but they're
Yeah.
coming up, right? So then
So
we're
good.
clicking on it, we're watching a little bit, and if done properly, it's got a link to the full video podcast. And then that's where you're going to read the show notes, which is also called the description, where you've got your links that is going to help the audience achieve what they want to achieve.
Unfreaking real. That is,
Mm-hmm.
that feels so good and so not overwhelming, for those of us who feel, me, very tech frustrated. I'm like, I just, I'll do it, you do it. Um, so my first question for you is you mentioned your program. What's that all about?
Well, we have the signature program, the podcast mastery program. So it's broken down in very step-by-step tutorials. You've got a community, group coaching. It is launch, brand, market, and monetize.
Oh,
And a little, I have to be a little bit different than other mentors. You actually receive a podcast host certification when you complete the podcast mastery program as well. And I
what?
haven't seen that a lot in there. So it does actually give that element of achievement, some
Wow.
social status as well. And we also have a bonus module for those that purchase in full of a business accelerator for podcasting, because podcasting and business and marketing are all under one umbrella, all packaged with a little bow on top. And it is great because a lot of podcasters aren't marketers and business owners. So how I differentiate myself in my podcast mastery program and really serve women in business to create those transformations, attract the right audience. We don't need hundreds of thousands of subscribers, hundreds of thousands of downloads. One of my clients had less than 7 views on one of her video podcast playlist funnels, and she sold a $5,000 high ticket
Wow.
course.
Wow.
Okay. It's about talking to the right audience and having the strategy to be able to place those video podcasts in front of the right audience that are high intent, they're ready to take action, they're ready to buy, and they sell themselves into your offers through the podcast playlist funnel.
I am giddy. Like I am so freaking giddy because you're dropping so many nuggets right here and I'm getting value and my my brain is like, can you see it? It's like, woo, I'm getting so many ideas right now and I love that. I really appreciate that course. I know how really truly of a servant leader you are. And you bring things down to our level so that it isn't overwhelming and that it's something that you can take tangible action and see tangible results. And that's what I love about you. And that's why I chose you not only as my coach, my podcasting coach, and my managing team, but that's why I wanted to have you out here because I know so many women in business who have it on their heart and they're like, I have a lot going on. I don't know if now's the time. And you just break it down and you do over deliver in a non overwhelming, non threatening way. I should have asked you before we started recording, but you did have a done for you program. Is that something that you still offer?
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh,
We
tell me
have
all
got.
about it. Okay, so now I can say I don't know what my stats are because Tracy's team manages everything for me. I record my show, I hand it over to her team. They are so flippin' brilliant, and everything that she just said, I don't have to do, I don't have to know because your team manages everything. And I couldn't be more excited. So I want you to tell us all about this Done For You program.
Look, I didn't intentionally. I like to prepare stuff, but I didn't intentionally a few years ago intend on providing podcast management services. It wasn't in my plan. And what I found is when people were going through my program, they're busy entrepreneurs, they're busy women. Most of them have got their own VA. Some do, some don't. But what I found is the biggest stop for people, because I'm an advocate for batch creating and scheduling, right?
Yeah.
Like, set aside a day, plan, film, schedule it out. Like, I love that, right? But what I found is when people were going through the program, their biggest stucky point was, I'm a busy entrepreneur. I don't want to train or outsource editing. Have you got an editor that can do that for me? And what I found is, as I went along, a lot more women in business who had a podcast were asking me this. And I thought, okay. And I'm like you, Kim, I'm like, there's an opportunity there. So we love those opportunities when
Yeah.
we're in business. We don't want to leave that money on the table. And then I'm thinking, how can I coordinate that into what I'm already doing with 1,000 things going on? So we sat down, I hired a team, I fired a team, I hired another team, as you do, people management. I've got
Yeah.
the most brilliant aligned team that really genuinely cares about our podcast management clients and their brands and their messaging. And we meet and we discuss things in depth. We do a lot of behind the scenes research and market development to stay on trend and on topic so we can pass it on to our management clients. So what it actually happens is people like you, Kim, go away and they record their episodes. They send it to us and we do everything. We edit, we do the captions, we do the show notes, we do the thumbnails, we do the uploading to YouTube and audio. Now there's probably listeners going, oh my God, that sounds so overwhelming. What is all of that? We break it down and make it very simple. Basically, it's completely done for you. You
Yeah.
create it, you hand it over to us, and we get to work like busy little monkeys behind the scene. And then you wake up the next day and everything is edited and uploaded to where you want it uploaded to.
I can vouch for that because this is the exact reason that I said, yes, it's finally time after 4 years of being on my heart. I'm ready to launch the podcast. Your course is amazing. I've known you for how long now? 6 years. So I can vouch for your coaching, your deliverability, everything that you do. You're in the trenches. You really are always on the cutting edge. Teaching us how to batch create does solve the consistency problem that you were speaking to earlier. And that's a very real problem. And I kind of squinch because I feel like she's talking to me, and you saying, this might be a better fit for you. I thought, well, that's a no-brainer. And I can tell you the very first time I received the first email with all the components and all of the assets broken down, it was better than Christmas morning for me. I was like, OM gosh, like you over delivered, you way over delivered on my expectations. Everything was so simple. I had no anxiety, I had no overwhelm, and I have a great funnel for my business now. And I shared with you, I had a guest on, Barbara Bond. She was on an episode not too long ago, and she reached out to me just in the first few days of her podcast episode airing. She had reached out to let me know that she had already generated 35 leads just from being a guest on my podcast. And I just thought, Team Tracey, you are flipping amazing. So thank you for making me look good.
Oh, thank you for your kind words. Oh my God. I'm going to bring it to our former mentor, your still mentor, Ray Higdon. I
Yep.
remember him saying, right, that Dale Carnegie, the marketing guru, we are marketing to a moving parade, not a standing army. And I don't know why, but I really felt that. So when I think of marketing, when I think of podcasting, when I think of playlist funnels, I always keep that and his words in the back of my mind, because we've got life going on.
Yeah,
We're busy. We want to be able to free up our time, because time is our biggest asset.
for
And
sure.
that's what I love about podcasting, Kim, because not only can you build your brand and influence, there's not a lot of rules around podcasting. You can be as free, as authentic, or as expressional as you want to and need to be. But if you're doing it for business, then you need to have a strategy. You need to start with a strategy. And, when you've got a podcast playlist funnel, you can make sales every single day. And the people who've gone through my program do, I do. And the way you set up, very briefly, your podcast on YouTube is you create categories like, like content pillars, set
Yep.
up a few of them and create playlist funnels in 3 to 5 short video podcasts under those pillars, and they will actually be bingeable like Netflix, right? They're
Okay.
going to binge watch 10 to 15 minute episodes. And when you get to the end of those 5 short video podcast episodes, that's where you can pitch your offer without being Pamela Spamberson, you got to actually be authentic with it as well. And there's a certain strategy. There is a video framework that we have freaking nailed that works so well. And funnels are a sales system. They deliver on the problem, they capture new leads, and they're bingeable. They warm up your audience without those sponsorships, without those ads, without those endless
Mm,
sales calls of overcoming objections. Who wants to do that?
yes.
You're taking them on a viewer journey. They're getting to know you and your authenticity, your beliefs, your mission, in a business-like manner. And you can start off a playlist funnel under any topic once you've researched it. And the first one will be a broader general topic. The second one will answer questions. The third and fourth will deliver value and specific points that your audience is searching for. And the fifth one is kind of like your pitch to your offer. This is great for people who are course creators, who have coaching programs, who are building a community. And you can even interject. And now I know that you're really high on affiliate marketing. You can interject affiliate marketing. You can interject lead magnets and opt-ins into here to build your email list. You can do all of it all at once with one simple strategy in a podcast playlist funnel. And you can upload that to your audio as well. It works really well there as well. But the most results that I'm seeing is on YouTube. And a pro tip, a visionary of things to come, Kim, I'm going to say it here, exclusive on the Life by
Oh
Design
my
podcast.
gosh.
Over 74% of the population, global population, are viewing podcasts on YouTube. The smart TV podcast era is coming. Mark my words. I'm gonna save this video and air it in another year and go, I told you a year ago this was coming, right?
Yes.
Same as when I mentioned video podcasts in 2020. Now, a lot of 74% of people are watching podcasts on smart TVs. Now,
Mm,
consider this. If you have a a podcast for business, because on YouTube, you're not a YouTuber, you're not a content creator. You have a video podcast as a business owner on YouTube. It's a different mindset, it's a different strategy. We're not
wow.
going for thousands and thousands of subscribers. We are going for that high intent client that's going to binge watch our content and lead them into our business offers. So, keeping that in mind, imagine if you could leverage those podcast playlists. You're standing in a corporate boardroom, for example, one of the examples, and you bring up on the screen your podcast playlist funnel, and you have a board there, and you can pick out what you want to air on YouTube, on a smart TV screen. You can hold a retreat like you're holding this weekend. You can bring up, you see in the mansions and people's homes, they've got a screen, they've got people sitting around in a lounge by a pool, whatever. You can bring up a podcast playlist funnel as a teaching device, as a teaching extension, right? So that will become bingeable. So consider, you've got 1 hour, you've got a room full of members, clients, team members, corporate clients, whatever it may be. You bring up your podcast playlist funnel as a teaching extension, right? A learning opportunity to be able to warm up your audience and get them involved in what you're doing. And you created content for that. And then you've got, say, 4 15-minute bingeable video episodes. And in an hour, you've already fast-tracked the know, like, trust factor, and they're selling themselves. They're watching the content for an hour. They're selling themselves into your offers.
You are flippin' brilliant. I mean, brilliant. This woman, when she says, mark my words, this is coming, you have to trust Tracey because she has said things to me in the past that are here today. That everyone else was like, it's not a thing. It's not going to happen. And it's a thing. It's happening. It's here. And now everyone's like, well, how do I get on that bandwagon? And Tracey's already on to the next thing. So I am just mind blown at your talent and being. So I have a question for you. I'm going to put you on the spot. You've got your course, you've got your podcast management program. Do you still have an active podcast yourself that you use this podcast playlist funnel for? Say that 3 times fast.
Yes, we've got the Podcast Empire, just newly rebranded, by the way.
Love.
Podcast playlist, Apple, Spotify. We have daily mini episodes, consumable in under 15, 20 minutes a day. And I drop all the nuggets to let you know how to start your podcast, how to launch it, how to brand it, how to market it, how to monetize it, which is the biggest thing. And people want to kind of skip launch, brand, market and go straight to monetize. You can't do that. Yeah,
Nope.
it's part of a strategy.
You'll find yourself back at square one before long.
That's it. So yes, the Podcast Empire on YouTube, the Podcast Empire on Apple, Spotify, and all your favorite podcast players. And we drop the daily episodes. They're short, they're consumable, they make sense. They're not over industry talked. And you will actually listen to them, watch them, and you will say, it can't be that simple.
But it is, darling.
It is.
That's why you're here. So your team is going to link all of those amazing things in my show notes and make it very possible to find you. I cannot thank you enough. And if I don't stop you here, you're going to keep giving away so much. So I'm like, this woman will over deliver and continue to give value. Any last words for our listeners today, Tracey?
Your voice needs to be heard. You have a message inside of you. It's great that you're going to start, but start with a strategy so that your high intent, super aligned clients will want to hand over their credit cards, work with you, opt into your business offers, and you will be able to transform not only your business and your family's financial blueprint, but other families as well. And that's where the magic happens.
Tracey Lee Cook from the Podcast Empire and my favorite podcast coach. Thank you so much for your time today.
You are very welcome. Go Life by Design.
Yeah.
Love the podcast, by the way.
Thank
and reach out if you ever need anything. Kim, you're a wonderful host. You're very giving and very sharing, and you are helping thousands of people with your podcast. Thank you very much for today.
Thank you. Bye for now, my friend. And hey, before you go, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. And as always, friends don't let friends grow and develop alone. So share this episode with someone you love and care about. We'll see you in the next episode.